dig on this. You know what that's from, right? I would hope. I would hope you would this time.
I don't know.
Is it from a movie that we saw recently?
It's from Spider-Man 3,
It's
stupid.
from Spider-Man 3. Thank you.
Stupid.
I honestly didn't think... What's sad is I didn't think you were going to get that.
We watched it yesterday.
I know. I stand by my statement. That means nothing. With your memory, that means nothing.
I'm not stupid. I don't have real dementia.
I don't know if you can say that confidently. Not yet.
We are an unusual couple, you know.
Screw you.
I worry.
Screw you.
I worry deeply for
You
your
don't
health.
understand me.
I do. Yeah, so we saw the Spider-Man trilogy. We've seen the whole thing in theaters now. We talked about Spider-Man 1 and 2 in recent episodes. We saw Spider-Man 3 in theaters last night as of recording this. Electric, I'd say of the three, might have been the most electric environment.
Oh, that's because everyone was laughing the whole time, which, as they should.
Yes.
But, like, it was fun to watch it in a big crowd of people and see them all laughing, because normally it's just us laughing.
Yeah. There are movies like that where it's nice to be in a packed house of fans only. I don't like being in packed house theaters with assholes.
I will say, I think maybe like an hour into the movie, someone was snoring.
Someone was snoring. Someone was snoring.
You could just hear like a couple rows behind us.
Yeah. Yep. It was annoying, but that happens in movie theaters often for me.
I feel like that would happen if you brought your dad to a movie.
No.
If he had seen it before and he was really tired that day, he
I don't know how you fall asleep during Spider-Man 3. Like, why even... Maybe
he was an old man.
I don't know. Why go? I honestly don't know. Just don't go if you're going to fall asleep.
I almost fell asleep. Quite honestly, it almost took me out of it towards the end. I was like, God damn, this movie is so long.
It is 2 hours and 22 minutes compared to the other two, that's for sure. It is a messy movie. There's like way too much going on. You've got Venom shoehorned in the last 30 minutes, I'd say, maybe, because Eddie Brock's in the film, but he doesn't become Venom until literally the final 30 to 25 minutes of the movie.
That doesn't feel shoehorned into me, though.
To me, it's very like Venom was never supposed to be in this movie.
Venom was introduced in the beginning of the movie.
The symbiote was. I don't think that they should have had Venom in this movie. I think it should have just been Sandman and Spidey, and I think that's what Raimi wanted to do. But then the studio was like, "You have to have Venom in here." I'm pretty sure that's facts. You can like look it up. They also had the Harry thing. Like, you could have had Harry and Sandman. You did not need to have Venom in the picture, in my opinion.
Well, but
at all.
Okay.
If you were to scratch one of the three villains, to me, you scratch Venom.
So then, would you have changed the entire third act? Probably, because like, what happened? MJ dangling up top, right? I don't see Sandman as a character doing that to her, right? And I don't see Harry doing it. Yes, I would have changed the third act.
I don't need that shit. What was the point of that?
Okay.
She's saved almost instantaneously, and then it just leads into a fight with everyone else.
I mean, simply the whole point of every Tobey movie is to save MJ.
Yes, I would have eradicated that if I was writing it. I would have made a wholly and unique third act out of it.
And it's so funny. I've noticed in the Raimi movies, like, whenever Spider-Man has to save anybody else, quick, right? It's only ever if it's MJ that it's a big ordeal, right?
The third act of every Raimi trilogy movie, you are correct, revolves around MJ being held captive.
Like, even Gwen in the third movie, when she's dangling out of the building, like, if that was MJ, 30-minute long scene. Somehow.
Yeah, I mean, even let's think about the other Spider-Man movie third acts now. Like, technically in TASM 1, Gwen's not like being held captive.
No, she's not even there.
She's assisting.
Yeah,
in the plan.
she's there. She hides from Lizard for a little bit, and then she goes down to the ground, and it's Peter and Kurt and Captain Stacy.
In TASM 2, Gwen is also, by her choice, involved. And then in Homecoming, even, Liz is not really involved. MJ is not even revealed to be MJ yet in the third act. In Far From Home, the third act of that movie, everyone's kind of in peril, but like Happy's with the gang, and then you got Spidey. And then in No Way Home, it's not like MJ being held captive.
Yeah,
it's like it's just the Raimi trilogy.
Where it's all about the girl.
it's always like MJ bringing him out. Yeah, I never really thought about that.
And it's so funny. I think that lends, honestly, a hand, whether people think about it or not, to why we tend to not necessarily like MJ. Or we, at least. I know there's some people that, I'm sure there's people that do like MJ at least her version of MJ. But like to me, she irritates me.
Yeah.
Why?
She's quite irritating.
Who's to say? One of those reasons could be, damn girl, why are you always in trouble?
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's because the villain's like, in every movie, the villain finds out that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, which, hey, Toby, get better at hiding your identity, by the way. The villains find out that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, so they target MJ because they know that Peter loves MJ.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what happens in TASM 2. That's why the Harry Osborn in TASM 2 targets Gwen, because he finds out that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. So, but like, it's in every movie, and it's like, I don't know, maybe do something else.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rinse, wash, repeat scenario.
To be fair, it's the 2000s, so like, what do you really expect from them?
Yeah. Wash. Is it wash, rinse, repeat? Or rinse, wash, repeat? It's a tongue twister either way.
You gotta wash your hair, and then you gotta rinse it, and then you repeat.
Wash, rinse, repeat.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Yeah, so we enjoyed it, though, in theaters. It was fun to see Bully Maguire on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
I laughed quite a bit. It's the most quotable Spider-Man movie to me. It's the most memeable Spider-Man movie to me. I will always cherish it for that. I remember the first time I watched it on DVD. I was like, yeah. It's the worst of the Raimi trilogy, easily. But I still enjoy my time with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Because of...
Next 2 weeks are my weeks, though. It's where I have my time to shine, babes.
Yeah, I've already seen the TASM movies in theaters, so...
Well, I
be a new
haven't.
experience
Well,
for me.
aren't you just darn lucky, huh? Aren't you just special?
But I do look forward to revisiting them with you in theaters.
Yeah, are you excited to see me see it in theaters?
Yeah, you're gonna be...
I'll hold it back.
You're not gonna be
I'll
okay.
rein in the tears. I might be able to rein in the tears fully for TASM 1. The speech at the end does get me. I'll try to rein it in. Make no promises for the ending of TASM 2, though. It's
Word.
possible that I could probably rein in the tears for, like, Gwen's death, but then they pile her speech on top of it and the little boy on top of it, and that's just, like, a lot to, like, handle all at once.
Yeah.
So I make no promises, but I'll try my best to not
Fair.
embarrass you in a public theater.
No, I don't care. It's fine. Are we gonna see the MCU ones is the question. I don't know.
I thought you bought the tickets.
No, I never bought the tickets.
Oh, I thought you bought the tickets.
No.
It's up to you.
I said we can do it as we get closer. It's not like they're at risk of selling out.
Yeah, which is
See
so...
Everyone's seen these the MCU ones in theaters. No Way Home, I think we should go back to.
I agree.
But and then I can add it to the tally technically of record for most times I've seen a movie in theaters.
Yes,
It's
you
already
can.
got the record, but
You can.
that's another one. That's crazy.
How much have you seen in
5
theaters?
times.
Jesus. I think I only saw it twice.
I saw it 4 times in 3 days.
Jesus.
I saw it Thursday night showing with you,
Yeah?
Friday with my friend,
Mm-hmm.
twice on that Saturday. Once in the morning with my brother, once at night with you.
Word.
And then I saw it a 5th time in an IMAX theater with you in January. So you saw it 3 times. in
Oh,
theaters.
hell.
And then
Was the
I
IMAX
watched
one where
it-
we were all alone?
And yeah, there was like one other person in there.
Yeah,
We
they
went at,
came
like
in towards
2
the
in
end.
the afternoon on a weekday.
Your unemployed friend on a Tuesday on a weekday?
And yeah, so that was fun. And I'll add another tally for No Way Home in June, I guess it comes out. But anyway, today what are we doing?
Today we are doing a bracket.
But not a normal bracket where we make the
One
way
for
we've done
each
brackets in the
other.
past is I make a bracket for Cam, it's a surprise to her, and vice versa. This time Cam's made a bracket, but we're filling it out together.
Right.
And like
So-
we both have to agree on the winner to advance.
Basically, I picked a random 32 movies, Marvel movies, not MCU. I'm talking Marvel, all of it. So we've got some MCU, we've got some X-Men, we've got some Marvel Sony, if you will, aka just the Spider-Man movies. And I put them into a randomizer, and they shot out a bracket for me, and that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Basically, we're going to be picking what's the best movie, and we're going to be fighting over it. If we disagree. If we agree, easy money. But if we disagree, we'll be making our points, and it'll be fun.
It will be. And this is because of the Spider-Man re-release, but also Deadpool and Wolverine's been on my mind a lot lately.
Yeah.
It seems like people as a whole are sort of warming up to Marvel again, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
There's a lot to look forward to. Let's do it. Am I allowed to look ahead or no?
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
Do you want to read the first one, or do you want me to read it?
You can read it.
So the first bracket...
How many are there? You said 32, right?
It's a 32 bracket.
Yep.
Yeah. The first one. We have Spider-Man. First of the Raimi trilogy.
Yep.
Versus Iron Man 3.
Spider-Man easily. Iron Man 3 is like people
Is that the
overrate
one where
hell
he
out of it.
says
It's
take him to
fine.
church?
Yes.
It's the one with all the suits.
It's the one where he's basically not in his suit the entire movie.
Word. Yeah, I agree, Spider-Man.
And Guy Pearce's Aldrich Killian is one of the most forgettable villains in the MCU. People will try and tell you Iron Man 3 is like a top 10 MCU movie for some weird reason. And I feel strongly in this belief that that is people who cannot separate Tony Stark from the movie. I love Tony, but that movie is not a good movie.
Jenna might be crying right now.
I mean, apologies.
I think she likes Iron Man 3 a lot.
That's totally fine. I like Iron Man 2 way more than Iron Man 3, which
That's
is
fair.
a hot take to many. Like
That's fair.
Iron Man 3, I just have never been able to wash the taste out of my mouth. I saw it in theaters, opening day, front row, mind you, because it was the old theater that doesn't have reserve seats, you know. And my friend's mom picked us up from school. I'll keep it quick.
No, you're
okay.
fine.
And we went front row because it was the only ones available. And I was very disappointed as a 13-year-old.
Oh.
Because I was like, that's bullshit about what they did with the Mandarin. And I just didn't really care for the film too much.
Does Shang-Chi
No lie, I've revisited it once since then.
Does Shang-Chi make the Mandarin better or worse to you?
Better, but in a cinematic universe like that, you just forget when you go and watch an individual standalone from years past.
Yeah.
It's like the Star Wars timeline.
Yeah.
Oh, they added this in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I'm not going to remember that when I watch Avengers of the Sith.
Yeah. That's fair.
Continue. Spider-Man
All right.
advances.
Spider-Man moves on.
Yep.
We have another Spider-Man matchup. Trust me, this entire bracket is not Spider-Man. This is just how the randomizer spat the movies out. Spider-Man Homecoming
Okay.
versus Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2.
Okay. When it comes to Spider-Man, I'm not really down to argue unless it's for the TASM movies. Like,
What do you think the better movie is?
hang on, I gotta think. Spider-Man 2, Doc Ock.
Peter loses his powers, but over the course of the movie, he basically has that moment with Aunt May where he realizes that he is, like, Spider-Man is greater than him. It takes a lot to be Spider-Man.
And then Homecoming, I love Vulture.
Mm-hmm.
Would you pick Vulture over Doc Ock?
I don't know.
I might.
That's okay.
Somebody
Vulture's
who's
a
not
fantastic
like,
villain.
I'm not like super
I would lean
partial.
Doc Ock because Doc Ock is like his life work fails him, and so he's always a good person, but he becomes corrupted by this.
You know what?
I will not die a monster.
Interestingly enough, if I'm looking at just Spider-Man 2 in just Homecoming, I might pick Vulture as a better villain over Doc Ock. But like, if I'm looking at them as characters, and I get to include No Way Home for Doc Ock, I actually would pick Doc Ock. So we'll go Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, yo. Yeah, yo.
Do you want to read the next one?
Next, we've got Captain Marvel versus X-Men. Is that the first X-Men film?
Yes.
I haven't seen this movie, and I haven't fully watched this movie
X-Men?
since. Let me finish my sentence.
Okay.
Since
I was like, what?
2009, maybe. It's been.
You weren't there when me and Emma watched it?
No.
Shit.
Part of it was on when I was at someone's apartment in 2022. But I haven't seen it since.
You want my honest opinion?
I haven't seen it in years.
Captain Marvel.
But I remember
My
it.
pick is Captain Marvel.
Your pick's Captain Marvel?
Listen, when I watch... Okay, so my journey with the X-Men movies is actually still incomplete as we speak. I plan to watch them all, hopefully, before Deadpool Wolverine. And hopefully on my Patreon. But regardless. The first X-Men movie I ever watched was X-Men. Shown to me by my best friend Emma when she came to visit. And we watched it, and I was like, Emma, I'm going to keep it a buck with you. That was a really boring fucking movie. Like, I didn't enjoy my time.
It's not very good.
And she was like, okay. Because we were, like, trying to decide what order of the X-Men I should watch it in. Because the X-Men timeline, is finicky, right? You could start at any movie,
It makes
really.
no sense half the time.
So she showed me X-Men first, and I was like, Emma, that was, bad. Like, that was boring, bruh. And she was like, okay, well, let's try this one next. And I was like, I don't know if I want to watch another one. But the next one that she was like, let's go ahead and just watch First Class and see if you like this era of X-Men more. Liked it a billion times more. Finished First Class, and I was like, why didn't you show me that first? Showing me X-Men first was a fucking disgrace. I didn't like X-Men. Like, it was, like, boring to me. I would pick Captain Marvel over X-Men. If you put those two movies in front of me, I'd rather watch Captain Marvel.
I actually remember more of X-Men, and it's been so much longer since I've seen it.
Really?
Yeah, the opening cage fight with Wolverine and Rogue. You've got like the Statue of Liberty showdown and like Sabretooth's
I remember
there.
one thing from X-Men.
What?
I remember Wolverine in the middle of a road. That's all I got for you.
Fair, yeah. I mean, I would lean X-Men. I think X-Men's probably just a better movie. And I haven't seen X-Men legitimately since I was probably 10, 11, 12.
How many times have you watched Captain Marvel, though? Once?
Twice.
Twice? When was the second time you watched it?
And then I watched it on Blu-ray as well. And I may have seen it a third time, but
Doubtful.
I've seen it more. I've seen it more than X-Men. Legit. More recently and more, and I think X-Men's better.
Well,
But
we're
you're
at an
holding the pen,
impasse.
so-
We're at an impasse because I don't want to write X-Men down. I'm going to be honest with you.
You want to write Captain Marvel?
Yeah, if you put the two of them in front of me, I'm picking Captain Marvel. I think that movie is funnier. I think the dynamic between, listen, if someone says the Captain Marvel movie, instantly you probably want to think Captain Marvel, no emotion, boring movie. I think of the funny dynamic that we get between Nick Fury and Captain Marvel. They're funny together. They are. Nick
Stand out
Fury
of the movie for sure.
does a lot for that movie. We get Goose. I like Monica and Maria.
Mm-hmm. My stomach just.
That
made a
was
wild
loud as
noise.
fuck.
What was that? Did the mic pick it up? You think my
I
stomach
don't
just made the
know. It
weirdest
sounded like there
noise.
was a cat outside.
Yeah, I have no clue what that was.
That
my
was
stomach's
nuts.
a weird thing.
Your stomach's been making really weird noises today.
Yeah. Oh well.
I think I want to go Captain Marvel.
We were holding the pen, so I'm not going to really
Well,
argue.
no, don't
over
let
X-Men.
that be.
I think X-Men's a much better movie. I think the consensus would be X-Men.
Well, the consensus would be
it's
X-Men
it's-
because
it's.
Captain Marvel's misunderstood.
Say that again so that people and I can hear it.
X-Men would be the consensus among the people watching this probably, but that's because I think Captain Marvel is gravely misunderstood. I think her first movie is like underrated.
Fine.
And I'm not saying that as in like I think Captain Marvel is a top 10 movie. I'm not saying that, but I don't think it's a bottom 10 movie either. Like I think
do.
it's a fine
Of the MCU, I do.
I think it's a fun movie.
Yeah. It's got its moments.
I'll write
But-
X-Men down.
No, I want you to write what you want.
No, it's
down.
our bracket, and I'm gonna probably try and put. There's other movies on here that I know I'm gonna want to push for probably than I do for
I
Captain
think
Marvel.
X-Men is and it's been that long. I just remember Wolverine's intro being iconic enough to be better than anything in Captain Marvel.
I don't remember shit from X-Men.
And also, it did launch everything that would follow. For
I guess. The next matchup is kind of a sad one. It's sad to see one of these movies go so early, honestly. Infinity War versus Deadpool.
Man, as much as I would like to have suspense here, Infinity War. Deadpool, though, I was talking about yesterday after the movie with RJ. Shout out RJ. I really do love both Deadpool films. I don't know if Deadpool 2 is on this list, but if it is, we'll talk about it. Deadpool 2, people had a weird turn on. When they turned on the movie when it came out. Yeah, people liked it. I loved it at the time. I still really like it. And people are like, oh, it stinks. Nowhere near as good as the first. About a year later. It happens with everything.
Oh, of course it does. Happened with No Way
Infinity
Home.
War is going to make a run here, maybe.
Infinity War is a classic. Next, another easy one, I would say. Thor, the first one.
Thor.
Versus. X-Men Days of Future Past.
X-Men Days of Future Past. We're going Days of Future Past.
Obviously.
DOFP, baby. I saw that one in theaters. Electric.
I did not see it in theaters. I saw it in my apartment. And I was like, this movie is so good. And I've seen it a couple times on my own since.
Yeah, those two, First Class and Days of Future Past, are the best X-Men films with X-Men in the title. Because there's also the Deadpool films and Logan. And those are all technically in the X-Men world. But with X-Men in the title, Days of Future Past is the best of the bunch.
I agree.
It's a culmination of X-Men at the time.
It's the Winter Soldier of the X-Men
It's
movies,
the old era, the new era. It's got Wolverine. I mean, come on. Yeah.
Do you want to read the next one?
The next one is going to be the Marvels for Spider-Man Far From Home.
I know what I'm going for.
It's Spider-Man Far From Home.
What?
Comfortably. And
You're joking.
No.
What?
No. Cam.
The Marvels was so fun.
I enjoyed the Marvels. I was one of the few people when it came out.
I know you
who
did.
stood there and made a review on that skewed positive. And I meant that. That wasn't a lie. That wasn't me shilling for Disney. None of that crap.
Oh, hell.
I legitimately enjoyed the movie. I've seen Far From Home. I saw it twice in theaters. And I think I've seen it 3 to 5 times since then. Now, I will stand by this. I think right now Far From Home is the weakest live-action Spider-Man film. However, There's not a remotely bad Spider-Man film.
That's fair.
The Marvels, I loved the one thing that stood out in that movie was the dynamic among the team, and I think Iman Vellani as Miss Marvel was awesome. Awesome. The movie was funny. But if I'm comparing the two, Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, standout villain.
Okay, yeah, Far From Home does have a better villain, and that's just because the Marvel villains
Then you've got I love the third act with the drones. I think it's super cool when you've got that scene with Spidey where he uses the Peter Tingle and he like solos the drones, and then he's with Quentin Beck. The end post-credit scene of that movie that would then directly follow into No Way Home, where his identity is revealed to the world. I got to go Far From Home.
All right, you've convinced me.
It's got to be Far From Home.
That was good convincing.
Thank you. The Marvels is not a bad movie. I think that movie is wildly overhated, but Far From Home is still a very solid movie. Brad is the only crap. Brad and the Italy crap, like I could do without. Like the what are they called? The Elementals. Those are weak.
Yeah,
that's all weak. And we all knew Mysterio was going to be the villain, but it still is a better movie than the Marvels.
And Peter Parker is like abnormally stupid in that movie, by the way, which irritates me.
Yeah,
but,
he's young and dumb.
They all are, but get it together. Anyways, next we have Captain America: Civil War versus Fantastic Four.
Civil War comfortably.
Obviously.
There's really no competition there. Civil War is
which one has Bucky? Civil War.
Fantastic Four revisionism is insane.
Especially for the second one.
Revisionist history. People, oh God. I watched the two movies growing up, and I honestly was like, these are not very good. There's charm to them, but that's it.
No, you're going to see insane revisionist history when the new Fantastic Four comes out. All they're going to do is talk about... They will probably find a way to do revisionist history for Fan Four Stick just because of how bad they probably will hate Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm.
And people will try and convince us that Jessica Alba is a good actress. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, but like it's okay if it doesn't.
She's in the first one, right?
Yeah, she's Sue Storm.
She's Sue Storm.
I don't think she's a good actress.
That's fair. I don't think that's the only thing I've ever seen.
I also think that the best part about those movies is probably Chris Evans as a Human Torch.
Yeah, it is.
And I just know that if he does show up in Deadpool and Wolverine, people will be like, it'll be interesting to see the reaction. Because there's speculation on Twitter he's going to be in it. It's those like, fan accounts that say everyone's going to be in everything.
Chris Evans would do that. Honestly,
I don't know.
I don't think he would. I don't see him doing that.
I see him doing it.
He's fine. He's good.
You think he's good?
He's
What's
good.
What's he done post Endgame?
He doesn't need to. He's good.
I mean, fair, but you got to be smart with your money, even if it is that much of a quantity.
You got to look at when you ask what's he done post Endgame, comparative to like Robert Downey Jr. Right?
Robert Downey Jr. just won an Oscar. So
obviously,
watch your mouth.
No, I'm not. Calm down. I didn't even get into
Let's go right now. Let's Civil War.
Shush,
it's topical.
I didn't even get into the meat of my point before you started thinking I was about to diss RDJ. I wasn't. RDJ has a wife and kids, right?
Yes.
He's already done that shit. And he strikes me as the kind of guy who kind of likes being in the light of things. He likes being, Robert Downey Jr., So it makes sense for him to keep doing projects. Especially if now he can lean into like the artsy side of things. He likes Chris Evans. He's like 40 something. His whole life he's just wanted to get married and have kids and probably live on a farm. Quite honestly, genuinely, he found a 25-year-old woman. He married her ass.
He's married?
Yes.
News to me.
Shocked she's not pregnant yet.
News to me.
Shocked to my core they don't have a kid yet.
I don't know if I believe you.
Yes, he married a 25-year-old model.
Wow. Okay, and he's how old?
42. Leonardo DiCaprio, if you will.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Regardless, they look sweet, right? They love each other. You can tell like when they're out in public. But
I don't really care.
Chris Evans is fine with disappearing with his wife and having kids and living on a farm with the money that he already has, which is a shit ton of money, millions and millions and millions of dollars. He's good. So unless the check for him to come back as Johnny Storm was a PH fat fucking check, I don't see him doing it. There's not enough drive for him to do it.
I disagree.
Okay, we'll see when we get there.
I disagree, but I want to say this much. Who'd have thunk post-Endgame, Evans would have the worst career? I stand by that. He's taken the least risks.
Who'd have thunk it?
You thought he would of the three. Hemsworth, Downey, and Evans, you thought Evans was going to have the least. Here's what he's done. Of note. Defending Jacob, which was not bad. It was the Apple TV Plus show.
Him and Hemsworth on the same
He
level.
voiced Buzz Lightyear in Lightyear. He did that Ghosted movie that flopped with Ana de Armas.
Yeah, Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie
He's
were
got a
in that.
movie coming out on
Really?
Netflix.
I didn't know that.
Chris Evans has a movie coming out on Netflix where he's with Dwayne Johnson and J.K. Simmons. I almost said J. Jonah Jameson.
I didn't know that.
It's a Christmas movie
Oh, hell.
with Santa. Reports came out today. Apparently, The Rock was 7 to 8 hours late to set every day, and like it pissed everyone off, and that's why the movie got delayed so much. Apparently, he like
7 to 8 hours late to set.
set.
The set's over.
The
The
set's
set's closed. What do you mean 7 to 8
and
hours late?
Apparently, it's test screen. There's like no chemistry between him and Chris Evans, and
Shocking.
Yeah. So
I don't think Chris Evans is that amazing, fantastical of an actor. I love and adore him in Gifted. And guess what? You want to know why I think that's probably his best role? Because he is playing a father to a young McKenna Grace. Chris Evans was just born to like be a family man. Like if you watch, I used to be obsessed with Chris Evans in the very beginning of my Marvel journey, early 2017. Every interview you watch of him, he just talks about how he is so dedicated to his family. Like he is a big family man. He loves his mom, loves his dad, loves his brother. His brother was in Barbie. Like his brother's doing a little bit more than he is, right? Chris Evans just is a man who wants to have a family and call it a day. And I think anybody could tell that.
Fair.
So
if we're looking at post-Endgame stuff, Hemsworth had the 2 Extraction movies on Netflix.
Never saw.
Bangers. He's about to be in the new Mad Max movie. He technically had Love and Thunder, which I know is not a good movie.
Did you see he apologized for that
Yeah.
recently?
Which I know is not a good movie.
Honestly, if I was an actress and I ever was in a movie that was like so shit, like Thor: Love and
Yeah,
Thunder, and was like
Jesus.
so shittily received, I would do like a notes app apology, like
Yeah.
as a like to make a joke out of it.
Mhm.
Spiderhead was good.
I never watched it, but at least he played
I watched it. It
something
was good.
out of character for him. And
Yeah.
he's playing really eccentric people.
He had an American accent in that, and it really
So-
upset me. Really threw me off.
Yeah.
Didn't like it one bit.
Yeah, so I mean, and then RDJ, truthfully, I'm gonna be honest, until Oppenheimer, he hadn't had much, but now he's literally won an Oscar and can be like
No, yeah, he
that
crushed
to
it.
anyone who says anything.
Yeah.
So Evans, of the 3. Sorry for the little side rant, but
No,
back
totally
to
fine.
business
That's
here.
what this is for. Next, we have Captain America: The Winter Soldier versus Black Widow.
Winter Soldier.
Absolutely,
Did you pick the order of these, or they were all random?
they're all random.
Okay.
Straight
On to
up.
the other side of the bracket.
Onto their side.
I'll
Would you
read
like
it.
to read the first one?
Yeah, we've got Avengers: Age of Ultron versus Spider-Man: No Way Home. No Way Home. NWH, baby. No Way Home is an event film, if
I do
you
think-
will.
well,
And I
okay.
do think society has tried to... A certain part of society, like on film Twitter, has like tried to say it sucks. But it's a very good movie.
I will say I would say Age of Ultron is underrated, but I think at this point in time it's probably like rated exactly where it needs to be because everyone's always like it's so underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say overrated a few seconds ago? I meant to say underrated.
I don't know. I was reading the next thing, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay. If I said overrated, I meant to say underrated. Anyways, moving on. Do you want to read the next one?
Is that X-Men Apocalypse versus The Amazing Spider-Man?
Yep.
Fun fact about Apocalypse. First movie I ever saw alone in a theater.
Oh.
My friends had like already seen it. It was like 2 weeks after it came out, and I was like, I'm gonna just do this. It's something you have to like rip the Band-Aid off and do if you've never done it. And I went at like early morning. It was a summer day in high school. Early morning showing at the AMC that has
Yeah.
recliners, and it was the best. I love going to the movies alone.
I don't.
Give me TASM.
Absolutely.
Yeah, TASM over Apocalypse is not a very good movie, unfortunately.
No, it's really not. I was upset by it.
You seen it?
Yeah, that's the third one
With
in
Oscar
the
Isaac and-
first class Days of Future Past and then Apocalypse,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. It was bad. I didn't have a fun time. I was pissed off. I was like, we were
It
doing
has
so
a
good.
the best part of that movie is the sweet dreams are made of these.
It is the best part of that movie.
The Quicksilver scene.
Yeah.
I would love to see another one of those, maybe even in Multiverse of Madness. Come
Yeah.
on.
Next is Ant-Man and the Wasp versus Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Guardians 3.
Absolutely.
Beautiful send off to those characters. Been a year, coming up on a year since it came out.
That's nuts.
I think it's been over a year since we first saw it.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Would you
That's madness.
Like to read the next
Next,
one.
we've got TASM 2 versus Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
What do you think? We know what I think.
How am I answering this? I think Shang-Chi is probably the better movie. However, I don't care that much. Like I'll bend the knee for TASM 2.
All right, TASM 2 it is.
Yeah, I think Shang-Chi is the better movie.
I loved Shang-Chi. Like I had a great time with it.
I think that I don't want to get into this right now, but I think that TASM 2 has fantastic moments, but as a movie is heavily flawed. Much like Spider-Man 3. However, Spider-Man 3 is a better movie than TASM 2.
To each their own.
In your heart of hearts,
yeah,
do you think TASM 2 is actually a great movie?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
You believe that? I'm just trying to get in there because I don't think it's a great movie, but I think
I do.
I think it's a very good look at Spider-Man and Gwen's relationship. But as a movie, it's I cannot get over the stupid ass Dane DeHaan Norman Harry story, and then just it's almost too goofy to me at times. But it lacks the like the thing about the Raimi trilogy, when it's goofy, it's so aware of it. You've got the quick zoom ins, it feels comic booky. With TASM 2, it frustrates me, but I do agree it hits on some real emotional beats. That's the best Spider-Man like love story we've seen ever in a movie.
Yeah.
It's just very whenever we rewatch it together, I'm like, oh hell. I'll like be dozing at times.
I don't feel that way.
Like whenever it's the corporate office crap with Dane DeHaan, I'm like,
here's my thing. I know as a TASM fan that TASM is not for everybody. Both TASM movies.
Why especially open? I don't know.
Okay. Don't talk to me about the opening of the movie. We're not talking to you about that right now. Especially TASM 2. Like, I'm fully aware TASM 2 is not for everybody, and I'm more inclined to be okay with that. Out of the two, I think the one that I will fight for more, like, if someone says they don't like, is TASM. Because fighting for TASM 2, in many ways, is a losing fight because people are hell-bent on their, opinions of too many villains, blah, 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 too messy, blah, blah, whatever people's issues are with TASM 2, right? So I'll let them have that. I don't want to get into it.
by any means, in my opinion.
But when it comes to TASM, I'll fight for it. And that might be something we do in a podcast episode next week or the week after with watching them in theaters.
We'll see. Moving on, though.
Next, we have Spider-Man 3 versus Endgame.
Endgame.
Really?
Yes. I mean, I love Spider-Man 3, but Avengers Endgame it's the ending of the MCU in many ways. I know a lot of people who stopped watching the MCU after that because it was the end.
Yeah, that's fair.
It honestly probably should have ended the MCU. They could have continued Spider-Man and then just branched off into like another. They could have like changed it.
Yeah.
So that's the MCU. Now we're gonna go and do this.
Yeah. I think they're getting back on track though. Like, it doesn't concern me.
Yeah, but I just. At what point in time, 10 years from now, are they going to just forever call it a part of the MCU? Is it going to be phase 15? Like, they have to think.
I think.
What is the.
We have to stop looking at things as phases now, and I think looking at them more as, like, their individual, there's the Infinity Saga, and that's, like, a thing. And now whatever the MCU does is branched off from the Infinity Saga. But to me, like, if they would have just stopped after Endgame, there's so many characters
I'm not saying
that I care about that I would have been pissed if I never got to see them again post Endgame.
Okay.
Notably, Sam and Bucky. If I never got the Falcon Winter Soldier, I would be so sad.
Mm-hmm.
If the last thing I saw of Bucky was just like him staring at Steve and Sam, I'd be like, bitch, what the fuck?
Yeah, I guess that it's a business at the end of the day. They made a business decision, but I just wish there was a way they could have.
You just wish they did it better. Like, that's all.
Sure.
That's all.
Moving on.
Next we have Thor Ragnarok versus Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
This is interesting. The two best movies from their respective trilogies.
Yes.
/
Ant-Man.
Forology.
Quadrilogy?
Yeah, thank you.
I would say Ant-Man.
Really?
Comfortably for me. Do you disagree?
I have to think about it. Hang on.
Ant-Man is a better movie. I've even tweeted this out before, and people called me like crazy for it. Ragnarok, if it doesn't hold up as well. Ragnarok's humor decreases with each viewing, in my opinion. Yes, you've got the Gladiator Hulk moment and the fight with Thor. You've got Valkyrie. A lot of that movie, though, especially with the release of Love and Thunder, you look back on it and it kind of gets a little too improv-y.
You know what's interesting is looking at these. So I would say the general public did not like Thor: Love and Thunder, and the general public did not like Quantumania. If you look at those two movies, which one of those movies soured their main character more? to me, a Thor: Love and Thunder soured Thor way more than Quantumania soured Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I also didn't hate Quantumania, right? So I'm good with Ant-Man, honestly.
Ant-Man.
I agree.
Ant-Man it is then. We move. What's next? I'll read it. X-Men First Class versus Captain America the First Avenger. I know my answer.
I know my answer, but I think we might be at an impasse.
X-Men First Class.
I'm Team First Avenger.
Really?
I like the period pieces that Marvel does
They're
really
both period
well.
pieces.
Okay. The MCU period pieces. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Remind me what happens in First Class. Is that the one with Tyrion Lannister?
That's Days of Future Past.
Okay.
First Class is the story of Charles Xavier and Eric Lensher coming together and forming a team of X-Men. And a lot of the film, we actually get a backstory on Magneto, Eric Lensher.
Right.
We see all the way back to like his youth in the Holocaust.
I'm aware.
We get that scene of him at the bar enacting revenge on some older
Right.
gentleman with like, it's insane, really. And then you've got the formation of the X-Men. Ultimately, they're fighting on the beach, and we see like a fantastic scene
Right.
with McAvoy where he gets like paralyzed. We see like the origin of everything. I just think it's a really cool movie, and I think it's one of the better X-Men films. It's stylistic. You've got the Wolverine cameo when Magneto and Professor X pull up to the bar, and he's like, "Go fuck yourself," and he just like he like, has another drink. I prefer that movie by a lot. Like, I do think First Avengers solid origin story, but I lean First Class. I can't budge on that.
I'll take
We
it.
can flip a coin if you're...
I'll take it.
Okay.
I do love the first Avenger, though. Next, we have the Avengers versus Guardians of the Galaxy. So, like, two first team-up movies. What do you think? I'm thinking...
Guardians.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. I love that first Avengers movie. But today,
I'm the Avengers,
you
dude.
are?
Yeah.
But see, I'm willing to be swayed on it because the Avengers is iconic as hell. I saw it 3 times in theaters. It's super quotable. It's the first team-up movie in the MCU. Guardians.
I think about the humor of these two movies. I find Tony Stark infinitely funnier than Peter Quill.
Actually, I will go ahead and side with you for Avengers for one reason: the villain.
Loki, fantastic. Absolutely.
I'll give you Avengers. I think I would still rank Guardians above Avengers on my personal ranking, but Avengers might have it in the rewatchability department.
Yeah, I think it does.
And the quotability department.
I'm also not the world's biggest Guardians fan, so
I know.
There's that.
That's fine. We will advance Avengers. On to the next round.
On to the next round of the bracket. We've got Spider-Man versus Spider-Man 2.
This comes down to Green Goblin or Doc Ock, so I'm going Green Goblin.
Oh, 100%.
Spider-Man 1. Spider-Man 2, I adore, and I actually bumped it up to 5 out of 5 recently. Like,
yeah.
In a theater, too, it's always been a 4.5 for me. I was like, it's a 5 out of 5. It's a beautiful Spider-Man story, but Spider-Man 1, come on. That is, I think, maybe the best origin story.
Yeah, it's
for a
good.
comic book film.
I liked it a lot in theaters, for sure. Next, we have X-Men versus Infinity War. Infinity War easily.
Yes.
Next, we have Days of Future Past versus Far From Home.
Days of Future Past, baby.
Days of Future Past, easily.
Yeah, easily.
Next is a hard one. Next, we might fight over. Next, we have Civil War
It's not hard at all for
versus the
anyone.
Winter Soldier.
Captain America Civil War. I'll tell you why. But I want to hear you argue for the Winter Soldier first.
It's just like personal.
it's just.
I will give
shrine
you
on my
Bucky
wall.
talks more in Civil War though.
Civil War.
Either way, I win.
Is,
really,
and I would say no. I'm not even gonna say there's a chance. I think Civil War, out of every MCU movie, captures conflict the best. It's one of the few movies where I genuinely do flip sides constantly.
Civil War.
Captain America, I'm like, he's made a great point. Oh, Iron Man. Oh, come on. Oh.
Civil War is such a good movie because it's like the only Marvel movie where there's not really like a villain. The fighting isn't the Avengers versus the world. It's the Avengers versus the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like the fighting is internal, and it's just so good. It's done so well.
It just feels like ever since these characters were introduced, and since the scene in Avengers when Tony and Cap have their little face-off, bicker, their little insult off, whatever you want to call it. there's just been this tension internally, even in Age of Ultron, clashing heads. This is like the overflow of that. Like they've finally reached their breaking point, and we see them go to war, civilly speaking. It gives us Spidey in the MCU.
Yeah.
It gives us Black Panther in the MCU. Civil War, aka Avengers 2.5, is better.
The scene between Steve and Tony and Bucky, when we find out that Tony's parents are were killed by Bucky, probably like top 3 scenes in the MCU for me, genuinely.
I agree, and I don't understand. What bothers me is how someone could watch that performance from RDJ and then be like, oh, he just does Iron Man. And then he does something very comparable in Oppenheimer, and they're like, Oscar. It just shows you the bias.
Of course.
He's fantastic in that scene.
Yeah, I agree. And
the way that he's like, don't bullshit me, Roger.
Might I just say, not to go off on my own little tangent, I want to point out for both The Winter Soldier and Civil War how fantastic of an actor Sebastian Stan truly is. And I think he's going to have something quite similar to RDJ, where Sebastian's doing a lot of stuff outside of the MCU, and eventually he's going to get recognized for it.
Yeah.
Whether I have to steal the Oscar for him or not.
Yeah.
He's going to get recognized for it. And people will be like, wow, Sebastian Stan is such a fantastic actor. And I'm like, babes, we've been known this whole time. Because the way that Bucky literally does not talk in the Marvel movies, I specify movies because obviously he talks in The Falcon Winter Soldier. The way that Bucky rarely ever talks in those films, and Sebastian Stan is able to portray so much with just his eyes, especially in The Winter Soldier when half of his face is fucking covered up. Like, he is so good in every scene that he does. Like the post-credit scene for The Winter Soldier in the museum, he doesn't say anything, he barely even moves, and there's like about 5 emotions going on in his face. Civil War, the scene of the 3 of them, Bucky is crying. Like, Sebastian has tears in his eyes, like, for the character of Bucky, having to relive watching himself kill Tony's parents. Everyone moved. Groundbreaking. Next, No Way Home versus TASM.
Spider-Man No Way Home. We had an impasse?
I think we might just be.
Okay.
I think TASM.
Why?
Because I think TASM is just a slightly more cohesive movie. And I love No Way Home. But, like, trying to figure out how to explain this. Like, if you watched them, like, back to back, like, the plot of TASM flows better. There's no Way Home without TASM.
Fair, but
like, there's
fair, but
multiple villains in No Way Home, right? But, like, they're derived. Like, I would say the main villain in No Way Home is Green Goblin. They're all, like, derived from the other movies, though. And, like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm also a big Lizard fan in TASM. You're not. So I find Lizard to be a very compelling villain. You do not.
I think Spider-Man No Way Home is the better movie for various reasons. At the surface level, we could talk about how the movie's an event and how it, was nostalgic for everybody and brought in Daredevil in the MCU, all these things, but we can throw that to the side and just look at it as a simple story. Tom Holland, who plays Peter Parker in the MCU, for 2 films in both Homecoming and Far From Home, the most common complaint was he never suffers loss. He never deals with any real consequences. In this movie, we see him come face to face with that as he screws up big time with the spell gone wrong thing. He also loses his aunt, May. He'd already lost Uncle Ben, mind you, off screen. And guess what? He'd already lost Tony Stark. So he loses everything at a certain point in this film, and he's at rock bottom. And who better to bring him out of rock bottom than himself from another universe, with Toby and Andrew coming into the fold and sharing a sort of common trauma, I guess you could say. And they remind him, hey, it's hell being Spider-Man, but you got to go and put that mask on for the people you love because there's something special about being Spidey. And yes, Andrew wouldn't have been able to be in this movie without TASM existing. But hey, That's one little
I
thing.
just feel like the way that TASM is so contained, like the way that you just described the plot of No Way Home, quite honestly, if Tom Holland's Peter Parker had to go through all of that without, honestly, Andrew and Toby showing up and with his own personal villain, like in the movie, then maybe No Way Home would probably feel like, in this specific comparison, I might lean No Way Home because that would feel just more contained. But because it brings in all the villains from the other movies and it brings in the other Spider-Man, it's not so contained anymore. And
it's
like
not
you said,
supposed to be. It's part of the multiverse saga.
I know that. But I'm saying, like, looking at those movies individually, like, I just think that it's the way you feel about Spider-Man. One, like, the origin of Andrew's Peter Parker, I think is really fantastic. And, like, the way he navigates it.
I just think that if we want to get down to the nooks and crannies of it all, I have always thought that of the 3 first films for Spider-Man, I think TASM is probably the weakest of the 3. I go back and forth on if Homecoming or TASM is better. Spider-Man's better than both. But TASM 1, I enjoy the movie. I do think, looking back, the more you think about it, there's this weird edginess to Peter Parker.
Because he owns a skateboard?
No.
What?
He more so Maroon Jim Lobby kid than Spider-Man.
That's
nerd.
Insane. They don't understand what that means, by the way.
They never will. It basically means he's more so
That's
like
nuts.
an emo kid.
No,
than like
it doesn't. He's not. He's literally not. He's not.
What do you think he is then? You think he's
A normal kid who doesn't have a car. So his means of transportation is
I'm not even talking
skateboard.
about the skateboard. I'm not talking about the skateboard.
I know. I'm adding that, like, that's he's a
the
normal
way he
kid.
rages out. I mean, I love the scene, but like the way that it's like it's an enjoyable movie, but there's a vast difference between TASM 2 Peter and TASM 1
When does he rage
Peter.
out? What are you talking about? Like, which one?
When he's like not dancing, he's like swinging with a damn chain. You know what I'm talking
That's
about?
not a rage.
He's getting his rage on.
You're
Cam.
thinking of Footloose, 2011. He's not raging. He's having a fun time. He's like, woohoo!
Okay.
He's a loner.
Put TASM. They'll all agree with you. Go ahead. I'm done.
No
with
one's
it.
gonna agree
Write
with
TASM
me.
down. It's the better movie. You're right.
It's either
TASM
that
blows
or I
Mayhem
fight
out
for
of
TASM 2 in the next bracket.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Cam, I can't tell you how No Way Home is better. In every facet of filmmaking, No Way Home is a better movie than TASM. No Way Home has better villains. No Way Home has better payoff for
No
the
Way Home's
characters. No Way
villains
Home has
aren't
a
its
perfect
own
story
villains.
arc for
That's
Tom
so
Holland, who's Peter
unfair.
Parker, as over the course of the film. He literally loses everything. By the end of the movie, no one in the world knows who he is. And he has to be Spider-Man. He finally goes on to start this new chapter of his life. How is TASM a better movie than No Way Home?
Just because he has a greater loss in No Way Home doesn't make it the better movie. Just because he lost more doesn't make it the better film. It doesn't.
Okay. What? I haven't heard anything, and I'm not, like, what? Tell me why TASM's better.
I have.
Aside from the fact that it's an origin story, aside from the fact that it is smaller scale.
I just think it works better as a movie. Like, I just think it's a better movie. I've given you plenty of reasons.
No Way Home is the culmination of everything we as people love about Spider-Man. It brings together generations of fans, but also generations of actual Spider-Men. There's a compelling main narrative. You've got, like I said, it's the final entry for this version of the character played by Tom Holland, where he genuinely becomes Spider-Man, in my opinion. I think No Way Home is a better movie.
Whatever.
I would refuse to put TASM over it.
You don't understand TASM, but it's fine. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 versus TASM 2.
Guardians 3.
I Hate It Here. Alexa, play I Hate It Here by Taylor Swift.
You want to go through it again? Guardians 3 is a better movie.
Whatever. See,
You're
like I said, like 10 minutes ago, if I'm gonna fight for a movie, I'm gonna fight for TASM over TASM 2 because I'm fully aware of like the flaws that TASM 2 has. So I'm not gonna waste our time like arguing.
That's the point of this.
Well, no, because can I finish?
Please,
the reason
please.
I'm not gonna waste time arguing is because this is for the two of us bracket. This isn't a personal bracket. If this was a personal bracket, I'd be picking TASM 2 all day.
Yeah.
But it's not a personal bracket.
TASM and TASM 2 wouldn't
Therefore,
have
my
advanced.
personal connection to TASM 2 doesn't affect it. So arguing it would be pointless because I'm aware that my personal attachment to the film has nothing to do with the fact that it should win.
That.
Right. So next, we have Endgame versus Ant-Man.
Avengers Endgame.
biggest Endgame stan.
Argue for Ant-Man. Go ahead.
I don't want to argue for Ant-Man. I just wanted it to be known. I don't think Endgame's making it to the final 2.
We're gonna do this, and we're gonna see what happens.
I'm just letting you know ahead of time. Next, we have First Class of the X-Men, if you will, versus the Avengers.
I think that First Class is a better movie.
Really?
Yeah. However, when did this become me saying you right? Like you're the one who said before we started this that we have to.
I just argued for TASM for 40 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
I did my best. You weren't budging.
Going up against a movie
you weren't
that
budging.
isn't a top tier MCU movie, I might have considered. Argue for Avengers. I want to hear it.
I think it's funnier. I think the villain is better.
That's a very fair point about the villain.
I don't know. Does First Class even have a villain?
Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon.
I think the Avengers has a better, like, team up origin, if you will. You could get into the argument of people that are like
Avengers, then.
people that are like the Avengers are just like coworkers versus the X-Men are like a family.
You could say Avengers has stood the test of time more. It's become more iconic. It feels like a classic superhero movie.
I also
Avengers.
I think the humor
Put
in
Avengers down.
the Avengers is one of the funniest movies in the MCU, like long standing. Like there are movies in the MCU that are funny, but like the humor doesn't like stand for the test of time. We're going Avengers.
That's fine by me. I've seen Avengers many more times than First Class.
Back to over here.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yes.
Versus Infinity War.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. That's a matchup for sure. All right, guys. So that's the end of the podcast.
I love Spider-Man, but I love me some Infinity War.
Yeah, I think Infinity War
is
that
one out.
remarkably better.
Wow.
What?
I don't know if it's that much better.
I mean,
I don't know if it's that much better, but it is Infinity War does something that I've never seen any other directors do: manage that many character groupings across the galaxy, have the villain win the first time in the MCU movie where you're like, holy shit, this was a dark ending.
Here's how I say
Infinity War.
Infinity War. This is a little bit of the No Way Home versus TASM debate we just had, in the way that you're fighting for No Way Home, right? Because it's the culmination of X, Y, and Z, all these things coming together, and that's part of what makes it so good. Infinity War is the exact same thing. It's the culmination of the MCU and all of these characters coming together, characters we haven't seen together coming together, versus an origin story. Is like the plot of Spider-Man better? Maybe. But the plot of Infinity War is like the plot of the past, 15 years of the MCU? Whatever, however long it was.
I like the plot a lot. I mean, yeah, it's like they're trying to stop Thanos from collecting the Infinity Stones.
It's like the plot of 20 plus movies. Next, we have Days of Future Past of the X-Men versus Captain America Civil War. Probably the best movies of their respective category, honestly.
You could argue for sure.
This is hard.
I think I lean Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
I lean Civil War because of the point I made earlier about conflict.
Mm-hmm.
However, X-Men, to the points we've made about things feeling like a culmination, that is like the No Way Home for X-Men films, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
It brought together generations, and so I respect Days of Future Past, but I think Civil War wins. The better movie. Damn, we were really eating good in 2016.
Next, we have No Way Home versus Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
I've gone back and forth on this a lot over the past year. A lot. There were times where Guardians 3 was above it. This was a hot topic when Guardians 3 came out. As of today, Spider-Man No Way Home.
I agree. And maybe it's just because we've been watching Spider-Man a lot recently, but also there's the emotional toll that Guardians 3 has kind of makes it not necessarily super rewatchable in a way.
100% correct, and I have a point.
Will I cry more over the notion of Rocket getting abused versus Aunt May dying? Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. What do you want from me? I'm just a human. I'm just a girl, okay? Sorry, I'm attached to animals.
Fair.
More than I'm attached to Marissa Tomei. Sorry.
I believe Guardians 3, I love it. Still, it's It's so stupid how in society you shift. Oh, well, my movie went from 5 to 6 in my ranking, so now I hate the one that shifted down. It's the stupidest thing, and it's just a movie community crap thing that I don't know why people are like that. It annoys me. It truly annoys the crap out of me when people get offended about me shifting in my ranking. Topic for another time. Get over yourself. It's my personal opinion, all right? No Way Home slightly edges out Guardians 3 right now because of the rewatchability factor, because of the personal attachment factor, my love of Spider-Man. I also just think that it's a damn great ending to the trilogy for Tom, and also just the movie with him swinging, finally being Spider-Man in this the perfect setup. Guardians 3, I have not watched since May of 2023, because damn, is it depressing. That doesn't make it any less of a movie.
No one even dies.
It's a perfect...
Well, the animals die.
It's a perfect send-off to the Guardians. I just don't find myself wanting to go back to it as much.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
Next, we have Endgame versus the Avengers. I'm Team Avengers on this one.
I'm Endgame.
Why?
Why am I Endgame?
Yeah.
I have rarely seen a film conclude a franchise that well, where it ties a bow on every single story arc and character arc, and there's payoff across 11 years, I want to say, of filmmaking at that point in time. It gives us the fan service moments in the middle act with the time travel to them to retrieve the stones, but also in the third act, it gives us a moment that I don't think will ever be replicated in cinema.
I agree.
Ever.
I think that
With
the
portals.
portal scene is fantastic. However, when I think of Endgame, I feel about Endgame the same way I feel about Revenge of the Sith when it comes to Star Wars movies, where everyone's like, Revenge of the Sith is the best one. And I'm like, hey, what if you watched it and not just thought about the third act?
Okay.
What if you, like, actually watched the first, like, hour that's, like, kind of boring?
Of which movie?
Both.
Okay.
I think Endgame has fantastic moments. Portals is the best moment in the MCU, and I fully believe that, right? But there's just something about the Avengers, like, and also, you know, I think, when did the Avengers come out? 2012. Like, what I think about it, I think about, like, it does have a little bit of, like, the Tobey Spider-Man, like, cheese, like, comic cheesiness in it, just the perfect amount. Mostly coming from Captain America because he's, like, a joke in that movie. But, like, he's got to stick up his butt on purpose. I think about how fantastic... Thor is actually really funny in the Avengers. Like, that's the funniest Thor's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
Every single character in the Avengers, like, of the six, the main six, their banter within each other is just fantastic. Captain America versus Tony, some of the best, like, and funniest scenes. Genuinely.
Yeah.
The way that Thor... and, like, Black Widow converse. So funny. Like, the fact that Thor has to deal with the fact that his brother's the villain and is embarrassed by it. Really good. Honestly, I'm in a group chat called Clint Stinks, and Hawkeye is incredible in that film. He is hilarious. He is so funny. When he's out of his mind control.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I think that The Avengers is a funny movie. I think that Endgame's got its quips as well, but I also think Endgame balances a lot of the ideas we've been tossing around regarding concepts in the multiverse, super depressing moments, payoff, all these different things. Like, it's filled with everything. Like, you name it. Endgame's got the humor. It's got the cringe moments that every movie on this list has at some point, because they're comic book movies at the end of the day, like Fat Thor. But you've also got, you know,
Hulk dabbing.
Hour.
And
of
how
the
could
movie.
you give up Hulk dabbing?
I
also viscerally hate Smart Hulk, by the way.
Yeah, I
The
hate
Avengers has Bruce Banner in a purple shirt.
Why do people, and I'm not, I mean, actually, yeah, like, yeah, so Smart Hulk's in the movie.
Yeah.
Because, and ultimately he's going to end up snapping. He's the only one that
Yes.
can do it. So why get hung up on the one thing, like Fat Thor or Hulk, like that? Why let that weigh down everything else?
I think they just could have done the two things, like, those things better. Like,
I agree. We should have had Hulk rage out, but, like...
And, well, it's not even about Hulk raging out. Like, when it comes to Fat Thor, like, you could have handled, like, Thor as a character better than just making him fat and depressed and playing Fortnite and drinking beer. Like, we could have done something else to give him, like, an actual inner turmoil, because Thor is actually very smart. Like, he's not a stupid character.
I mean,
and slowly throughout the MCU, he's turned into a himbo. This is a different argument for a different time.
Yeah, but I think that he... Continue, actually. I'll go.
No, that was it. That
Okay.
was the end of my sentence.
I mean, he felt so much guilt for not going for the head and killing Thanos. He goes and kills Thanos, and then he's like still got this heavy depression weighing down on him, and ultimately he's able to overcome it sort of by the end of the movie, it seems. I think Endgame, perfect 3-act structure. The first 20 minutes, lightning speed. Captain Marvel rescues Nebula and Iron Man. They return. Tony Stark is like pissed at Captain America. They go and kill Thanos 5 years later. Of course, we're going to sit with the aftermath of that. And then Ant-Man returns. Boom. We get a great scene of him looking for his daughter's name. Fantastic. One of the best scenes in that movie that's super slept on. Then they devise this plan. Middle act. Boom. We're jumping around all the iconic locations of the MCU, getting our fan service, returning to some fan favorite moments. But also, we get that moment with with Tony and his father, Howard. Then the third act rolls around, Avengers Complex gets freaking blown up, and then every MCU character in existence comes out of a portal and they fight Thanos. We have a huge send-off funeral for Tony at the end. We get beautiful send-off for Cap at the end. I mean, it is...
Rest in peace, Natasha.
It is a perfect movie, in my opinion. I think Avengers is great.
I don't think...
Endgame is a better movie to me.
I do not think Endgame is a perfect movie. I'll write Endgame down, but I don't think it's a perfect movie. But it's good.
Fair. I think Infinity War is better.
Well, speaking of, next we've got Infinity War versus Civil War.
Infinity War.
I don't want this bracket to be Infinity War versus Endgame. I'm about to be pissed off.
I mean, what do you want to happen?
I don't know. I just didn't want it to be this. No Way Home versus Endgame.
We can put No Way Home.
No, let's, like, what would you pick?
In my ranking, I have Endgame higher, but I would make the argument that No Way Home is a better movie. I could make that argument. So if you can sway me on that, if you can come around on it, if you put the two movies in front of me right now, today, if you want to do it that way, I'm watching No Way Home.
I agree.
I'm watching it because it does give us one thing that puts it over the edge. You could argue the filmmaking techniques, you could argue the story, you could argue character arcs, you could argue the villain, you could argue blah, 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 blah. One movie has 3 Spider-Men talking together, one movie doesn't. Give me No Way Home. That's it. It's real simple. Let's be honest.
It's so funny. I should have done this bracket and not included Infinity War or Endgame.
Probably.
Just for shits and giggles to see what would have won. So our final matchup is Infinity War versus No Way Home.
It would have been fun to do non-MCU Marvel movies.
We can do all of them when I inevitably watch them.
Infinity War.
Infinity
War.
War.
Basic, and I hate to say it, but it is that good, guys. You have to agree, right? I mean,
yeah, and I mean it's not at the top.
It's a special movie.
It's not at the top of my ranking, honestly, but that's just because like the movies that are above it are at the top for my personal reasons.
Yeah.
If I were to make an objective list, probably Infinity War would be at the top.
Like, I love Infinity War. It's my favorite of the MCU. I look at this bracket. There's movies on here. The first Spider-Man. You've got Days of Future Past, First Class. These are all awesome movies. It's just like the way the bracket fell. I kind of had to just go with, the gut, my gut feeling, if you will.
Yeah. So that does it.
Yes.
For this podcast episode.
Yep.
Pretty much all I'm going to be thinking about for the next week is seeing TASM in theaters. That's all I'm looking forward to. I hope you guys enjoyed watching us do that bracket. We want to do more brackets as time goes on, for sure. Like I said, when I probably watch all the X-Men movies, we can do an X-Men
Deadpool and Wolverine, we'll do something. We'll cook something up for that.
We'll see. We'll see something.
End of July.
Not looking forward to watching literally any of the other X-Men movies in the first trilogy. That shit bored the fuck out of me.
I can't blame you. They're not that great.
That shit bored me so bad. Bored me borderline to tears. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this episode of the podcast. I appreciate it, and Chris also appreciates it.
No shit.
Like this video.
I'm kidding.
Make sure you subscribe to us. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a nice, pretty little review.
Please do.
5 stars.
And if you're watching also, please comment down below. What would have won if you filled this bracket out?
Yeah.
That's what we want to know.
Yeah.
Subscribe. We're very close to 2K subscribers.
Really?
Like 50 away.
Wow.
Help get us there, please.
Crushed it. And that's about it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, stay unusual.